I think when, at the moment somebody dies, whether it's a death that is expected, it is always unexpected. If it's a sudden, unexpected death, you know, it's completely out of the blue, and so that's devastating. And I think in some ways there's nothing anybody can say because you can't make it better. But if I could whisper in their ear, I would let them know that it's normal, whatever they're feeling. Acknowledge their loss. They may be feeling numb, they may be feeling nothing at all. They may feel completely unable to cope and utterly shattered and sort of on the floor, unable to speak or never being able to stop speaking. There's such a range of feelings. Grief is a very small word that's quite tidy, and everything about grief and loss is chaotic, messy, untidy, unpredictable. And so I think the two key things is, one, not to turn against themselves, because often people turn the pain that they feel against themselves, often in the form of guilt and regrets and what-ifs, and try to be self-compassionate, try not to turn against themselves, but also to get the people close to them to support them. Probably the single biggest, most important thing you need when love dies is the love and support of other people. It doesn't replace the person that's died, but they can hold you while you're kind of shattered and trying to make sense of what usually you can never make sense of. My underlying view is that grief is extremely personal. It is very unique. There isn't one way to grieve, and everybody has to find their own way. At the same time, I think the process of grieving is that paradox of that you have to find a way of living with the reality of the loss, and pain is the agent of change, and pain is what forces you to adjust to this new reality that you don't want. And we all develop early defenses and mechanisms to deal with pain. And it is often the things people do to avoid the pain that do them harm. You know, whether it's alcohol, working, gambling, sex, avoidance, destructive relationships. There are so many ways that we find ways of actually not allowing ourselves to feel pain. What research shows is that it isn't the circumstances of the death that will predict a negative or a positive outcome for any individual. It's the support they get at the time and after the death. So that's the key component to anybody finding a way of rebuilding their life. And that support comes in many different forms. It can come from talking in a peer support group where people have a sense of that so much is understood without it having to be said, where people can tell their story and feel it sort of really acknowledged. And often, sometimes in peer support, people feel that they are part of a group that nobody wants to be a member of, but at least they're in this together, because grief is so isolating and so lonely. I think, you know, talking to friends, talking to people that can listen, but not everybody can find words to express their grief. So some people write journals, some people paint, some people may do gardening. It's finding a way that connects you to the person that's died and helps you find a way of expressing it. So for the first weeks, months, maybe even the first year of loss, if it's a kind of devastating loss of a very significant person, it is all-consuming, and it certainly feels like it's never going to change. And I think when people say to them, time is a great healer, that feels very, what's the word? Feels patronizing. And actually, what I say to people is that it will always be painful. You will always miss and love the person that has died. But the intensity of the pain and the overwhelming preoccupation changes. And that isn't really your choice, that it's a natural, organic process that you're not in charge of. And the only thing that you can do is find ways of supporting yourself to navigate that process as it comes through your system. But also that it's important to allow that to happen. And I think one of the complexities of grieving is that pain connects you to the person that's died. And so it can be, you can feel like you're abandoning them if you stop feeling the pain. And people, when they find themselves laughing, feel guilty, or they find themselves having pleasure, they feel like they've left the person that's died. And, you know, I've seen so often that you can allow both. You can allow yourself to really feel the pain and feel that person very close, but equally give yourself permission, if it happens and you can't force it, to have a break from it, to do something that's comforting, to seek comfort in your life from doing things that work for you. For some people it would be cooking, for some people it would be walking, for others it would be just being with a friend. But make those active choices that are positive to help support you.